What's up? This is your Coach Renz. Yeah, turn the mic on. Today we are going to have kind of an open discussion concerning free will versus an ultimatum. Because in truth, that's what we're going to talk about. Whether it's a free will situation or it's an ultimatum situation, according to your biblical text and people's belief in this deity. And excuse me for starting about an hour later than normal. Well, 30 minutes later than normal. I have to run some errands on a Monday morning. It's also a little warm in here. What's going on? Georgia is so freaky with its weather. Have a cool week, and then back to the blazing hot week. Let me turn this air conditioner down a little bit. Welcome to my cigar lounge. Early morning, where we're gonna talk about some things. Hopefully, we can get some good conversation going with some good people. I always give about 5 minutes of just bullshitting around to give people an opportunity to get on here. I love this argument about free will. So many people claim that we got free will, and then there's people. But when you look at it, if you believe it, I don't understand how you can believe in this Bible and yet claim that you have free will. At the very least, it's an ultimatum. And you can't prove it otherwise. You cannot prove otherwise that it's not an ultimatum versus free will. Grand Rising, Debbie, how you doing? Texas girl, home of Buc-ee's. I love me some Buc-ee's. I have my Buc-ee's t-shirt on this morning. But oh yeah, let me know where you at, who you are, where you at. Let's be polite. Grand Rising, everybody. You know I like my Buc-ee's. The lawn man came early this morning, waking me up out my sleep. I had to throw my Buc-ee's shirt on and go talk to him. Make sure he got everything squared away. But we are topics of today to talk about any of them. Free will, or is it an ultimatum? Is it God's plan or is the government's plan that this deity follows? Because in places in the Bible, he talks about he supports the laws of the land. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. But I thought he had a plan. I thought it was supposed to be his will. But definitely free will. I want y'all to get your minds right, get ready. Free will versus, I started to talk about relationships today because some of the bullshit that I was hearing. But I can't do that. Free will, well, I can't, but I'm not. Free will versus an ultimatum. Let's start with the biggest issue to which they claim you have free will of. The claim is that you have free will to believe in this deity or not. Oh, Jackson, Tennessee here. Open my eyes, raised. He was raised Pentecostal. Oh, that's. I know you lost some family members, probably to that one. So, if I tell a woman, if I were to tell Angelina that in order for you to live in my house, these are the things that I need. to feel compatible with you. And upon her decision, she decides that those are not the things that she's equipped or desiring to do. She leaves, but she goes and to her own house. She goes and has a choice of other places that she can live, a different way that she can live, different people, a different man, all those things. She has free will. She's drawn her circle, created her border on her own volition, right? Now, if I said, Angelina, you can live with me in this, to live in this house, you have to do these same things. These are the traits. These are the things that I require for you to live in the house. But if you choose not to live in this house, then you have to live in the worst homeless situation I can possibly imagine. Does Angelina then have free will? Or did I give her an ultimatum? Because if I had given her free will, then I give her free will to go out and choose how she's going to live. Man says, Phoenix says, hey, my cigar lounge called Smoking Phoenix. Everything, because I love you guys' communication, everything we claim to believe in is a contract. It is a contract. And like the example that I just gave, Angelina would have an opportunity to choose. In one instance, she can go out, she can say, I don't want to live with you. I don't want to be with you. I don't want to spend my time with you. I don't want to devote my life to you. But I have the options to go out and devote my life to anybody else. I have the option to go and live anywhere else. I have the options to make life how I desire to make life. But in this biblical plan, you don't have that option. It is follow this deity or burn forever in hell. But they can't make up their mind. You either cease to exist, or you're burning in the lake of fire, or you're going into hell. I've heard others talk about how you go into hell for 1,000 years, and then after the 1,000-year reign of Jesus, you get to be reevaluated again, and you might possibly be able to go to heaven after that. It's like a new age purgatory or limbo. Well, that would be purgatory, like a new age purgatory. That's an ultimatum, much like what we give our children when they're growing up, right? There are certain things that I gave my children free will over as they grew, and then other things there were ultimatums. Now, some of those ultimatums became free will choices later on simply because they were just too young to make those decisions when they were younger. Some ultimatums, you're gonna always respect your mother, you're gonna always respect your father. You're always going to show elders this respect of being an elder. But as you get older, you can call them out on their shit. Because if they right, they right. They wrong, they wrong. So they had certain ultimatums, places they couldn't go, people they couldn't hang out with. And the ultimatum one time I did have to put my little 12-year-old, well, she wasn't 12, she was about, how old was that little girl? She probably about 8. Oh, you want to act the fool? Get outside. You ain't got nothing. Bye. Get out my house. Let her sit on the back porch for about 30 minutes. That cured that disrespectful behavior towards her mom. But they're ultimatums and they are free will choices. This deity does not, in my opinion, provide any free will choices. When you look at the story of Pharaoh, the Christians will try to convince you that in this story with Pharaoh in the Exodus, that he hardens Pharaoh's heart in order for him to be able to prove his greatness. to Pharaoh and to the Hebrew people. You know, if that was the case, he miserably failed. Actually, that's a whole thought process and video in itself. All the time this deity failed. The failures of God. That's what I should have called. That's what we should have been. That's the failures of God. Because the excuse that they give in order for him to, the reason why he hardened Pharaoh's heart is ended in an abject failure. It's a complete failure. He didn't show Pharaoh his greatness to the degree that Pharaoh decided that, you know what? And think about it. If in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks time frame, there's the rivers and all the waters turning to blood, the sun coming like sackcloth, the flies, the boils, the frogs, the killing of the firstborn, but and the hailstorm. And then I see that the only people who survived the firstborn killing were the ones who put the blood over their door. I'm converting. And I chased them to the end, and here's a big old fire tornado thing that's stopping me from chasing them. I see the Sea of Reeds. It is not the Red Sea. I wish people started saying the Red Sea. But I see the Sea of Reeds, a wind blows, and even though it's a natural occurrence in the Sea of Reeds, which is probably why they didn't want to use it, all of a sudden there's land, but overnight they cross it. Now the Sea of Reeds is only 6 miles. They could have crossed that, but the Red Sea is 21 miles. There's impossibility for you to go 21 miles in one night carrying with old people and all that stuff. But if I would just witness all of this stuff, just seen it over a time frame of a month, I'm converting all of Kemet. All of Kemet getting converted. I'm rolling in like Akhenaten. Look here, y'all. We worshiping Yahweh. Y'all didn't just see what he did. Y'all didn't just see. Moses Aaron came down. Moses, you remember Moses, my brother, my adopted brother, he left, but he came back, prodigal son. He was the prodigal son. He came back. Yes, there's a repetitive theme of a prodigal son in this Bible. He came back and look at what he did. Found him that Hebrew God, and look at what he did, Grand Rising Teresa. He done just wrecked the whole Egyptian economy. Because if you think about it, if he did all of that stuff in a month, it would wreck the economy and all other economies that are dependent upon the Kemetic economy. Right? If all the water turned to blood and all that stuff, hailstones, massive deaths, boils, all that, the economy, we just had a little COVID, and it threw the economy off a little bit. It threw the economy out. We had a housing market and a dot-com bubble burst and the economy crashed. If all the water in the United States turned to blood, and then there was hailstones that killed every animal outside, people had a pandemic of boils, flies and frogs are everywhere. We have the sackcloth sun. We in a pandemic. Our economy is done. So we know his plan. So when a Christian person says, or a Jewish person says his plan was to show Pharaoh his power, it failed because at no point did Pharaoh start, or the Kemetic people worship Yahweh, the Canaanite God. They never worshiped this Jewish Hebrew God. So he failed. This deity is a failure. The fact that he said that he regrets ever making man demonstrates he knows within himself he's a failure. But the point of free will is that he had to harden Pharaoh's heart because he knew Pharaoh would have been like, man, gone. There's too many of y'all in here anyway. If the story was true, we know the story is not true. We know it's a made up story, but we're just basing it on their belief. And and in so doing, demonstrating and why we are justified in our walking away from this religion. You cannot have a God that is a failure. But Pharaoh didn't have free will. It was taken from him. It was taken from him. Every time he wanted to let them go, this deity purposely, according to this story, ensured that he didn't. Every instance of free will taken by this deity is not even so blatant. I can't think of the guy's name in the Bible. Onan, I believe. Onan, I think it was Onan. Was Onan the one who wouldn't skeet skeet in his brother's wife? Yeah, that was Onan. So according to their rules, and these rules are supposedly set forth by this set up for this God. Onan's older brother was found to be so wicked by this guy that he killed him. And then, according to their rules and their tradition, if the next brother hasn't married somebody and haven't been betrothed to be married to somebody, put it that way, and the older brother's wife doesn't have any children, it is up to the next brother to marry his brother's wife, impregnate her, and then that becomes your older brother's baby. Is not your baby. We know biology doesn't work that way, but that's what they did based on their tradition. But because Onan wouldn't do it, this deity made him receive the ultimatum, and he killed him. He died. What's the fallout from this situation? Part of the fallout from this situation is that Tamar, which I would never name, I've known quite a few women named Tamar. And then once I started understanding this story, I was like, why in the hell would anybody name their daughters Tamar? But Tamar, who is this woman who seemed to have that death pum pum, which, for those of you who also study the Sumerian story and the Anunnaki story and the Babylonian story, you know that Elnana, the Sumerian name, or Ishtar, the Babylonian name, same person, that she thought that she had immortality in her pum pum. But every man that she slept with, he died. So it is questionable if Tamar is based off of Elnana. This aspect of Tamar is based off of Elnana. And because also Elnana dressed like a prostitute in one of her events where she was trying to ensnare Anu. But Anu or Gilgamesh that she was trying to ensnare. I know she tried to ensnare Gilgamesh, but I think she was being herself with Gilgamesh. But I think when she tried to get pregnant by Anu, she first dressed as a prostitute. But there are two aspects of Elnana that is similar to Tamar. But anyway, so the fallout from this deity killing two brothers, one for unknown reasons, the other one because he skeet on the ground. This God created havoc in a family where now Tamar has to go back to her father because I think it was Jacob was the father at this time. Was it Jacob or Judah? Who's his daddy? Judah, yeah. Judah, his daddy was Judah. And Judah was a lonely old man. He only had another son, promised his youngest son, but when his son came of age, he wouldn't give him to Tamar. So Tamar dressed up as a prostitute and hid outside and stood outside of a temple of another deity. So I guess it's okay to get a prostitute if the prostitute worshiped another deity. It was okay for you to bang her because he banged her, gave her some trinkets, I think a staff, to show proof because he even had a payment right then. He was like, "I gladly pay you Tuesday for some poom 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 today," and they traded it up. She goes back home. He tries to pay his debt to the prostitute, to the temple priestess, the temple prostitute. Can't find her. He like, oh well, whatever. I got me some free poom poom then. Finds out his daughter-in-law is pregnant. Now he all mad because, wait a minute, my two sons couldn't get you pregnant, but some other man got you pregnant. Oh, you got to be stoned. Who has done this? Who's offended me? Now he's all offended. And then she shows that it was him, and he's like, oh, you know what? She's more righteous than me. Some bullshit stories, right? It's in your Bible. All of that's in the Bible. Give Jesus your silver and gold and don't question nothing. That's about the sound thought process of it. So from this deity who has this ultimatum that says that this is how you're supposed to do your family business, you tarnish this woman, you make this woman go to great lengths to try to justify who she is, because when she went back to her father's house, she's been used. She's been married before. She's not going to be able to marry anybody else unless it's another son of Judah. So if she doesn't have any brothers or uncle or some other man that can take care of her, because at this time frame she can't inherit property, she's going to be destitute. So this deity pushes her to devise up a scheme to prostitute herself. So the next time y'all see a sex worker on the street, don't look down on them. You have no idea what they're there for, why they're there. They could be Tamar. They could have found themselves in a situation, could have found themselves in a situation where they felt like they had no other options. Just like Tamar found herself feeling like she had no other options. But those options, according to this book, is coming from this God. Because the other part of this conversation is God plans versus government rule. This God says that he respects the plans of men. He respects government plans. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar. Whatever government you was born under, it's ordained by God. Whoever is your king, that's ordained by God. You should pray for your leadership, for your king. So if you was a Christian back in the day and you was black and you was a Democrat, you're supposed to be praying for Reagan, praying for Bush and other Bush. You're supposed to have been praying for Trump. If you was on the other side of that, you should have been praying for Jimmy Carter, for Bill Clinton, did that dude become president? No, he didn't become president. He lost. Yeah, right. He lost to Bush. You should have been praying for Obama. And you should be praying right now for Biden. Because according to this book, that's the government that was ordained by God. So when people say, where was God during slavery? The governments of that day ordained slavery as good, part of culture, legal. So your Jesus, your God, approves it. When they was having the inquisitions, the witch hunts, that was approved. All the colonialism approved. My ancestors sitting in Mali and sitting in Nigeria, and they were minding their own business. Well, here comes the Europeans, and they conquer and colonize these areas. Well, that was ordained by God. That was God's ordination. When the Nazi Party took over Germany, put people in concentration camps, that was based on this guy's approval. That's what he wanted. It's part of his plan, because he puts all these governments in place. And of course, their excuse is, well, what man knows the will of God? God works in mysterious ways. That's giving man an excuse. But that kind of thing played heavily. The Romans, the Europeans, were able to use that expertly. to make it so that every decision made by man through the government, through the papacy, was ordained by God. And as our around the world, as this falsified religion spread, it also used the same tactics. But most religions use that same tactic. So let me not just put that on Christianity. But most religions use that exact same tactic. Whether you agreed or disagreed with the Aztecs and the Mayans and their human sacrifices and capturing of other people and sacrificing them to their deity in order to have great, good year, good crops and that sort of thing, or the celebration of that deity's birthday or whatever, they thought they was doing it based on their belief in their gods. The same thing if it was Ifa or Shinto or any other religion. When they did things that we today would say is evil, it was based on the belief that their God said is good. And those people of that day actually believed that those things were good. Ashe. But that's what they believed. But that's why those who have thought this stuff through, we realize that this is all a bunch of BS. This is man at work. These are humans at work. These are people who are taking advantage of another people because they want resources. Taking advantage of another people because they don't like you for some reason. There's something disagreeable about you. Most of the time, it's resources. The disagreement is the fact that you got resources that I want. There are times where you insulted me, you invaded me, you took my wife, my kingdom, or something like that. But most of the time, it's resources. If the continent of sub-Saharan Africa didn't have the resources that it has and had, Europeans wouldn't went there. If the Americas would not have been found great in resources, Europeans wouldn't have went there. Like Australia didn't have a lot of resources, so they made it into a penal colony. They weren't really trying to go to Australia back in the day. So it's all about resources. And this is not some divine plan. This is man's plan. That's right, Debbie. It's all bullshit. A bullshit? A bullshit? I got to get that sound. But it's all a part of man's design plan. But the brilliant thing that they did was put it in a religious book. If I put it in a religious book, then you're going to believe that it is something that is ordained by God. And at the end, I got a carrot for you. I'm giving you all stick right now, but at the end, I have a carrot for you. And that carrot is you get to live in heaven, in paradise, in peace and tranquility forever and ever and ever with this deity, with God. But the only way that could happen is, again, you would have to take away man's free will. You would have to take away man's free will in order for there to be a heaven where everybody's happy and peaceful and loving in this heaven. You would also have to take away their memory. You would literally have to be in the condition that Adam was in, but without the temptation of a tree of knowledge of good and evil. You cannot have knowledge of good and evil and live in peace and harmony with this God in his heaven. He's already proven it. How do you guys think that it's already been proven that you cannot live in heaven with this deity and still have knowledge of your past and knowledge of good and evil? When did this God prove this according to their story? Let me give y'all a second. Because you know what y'all gonna do today? Y'all gonna comment. Y'all gonna talk to me. We're gonna have this conversation. I'm waiting. I'm gonna wait. Waiting by the water. Waiting by the water for y'all to comment. Nobody gonna take a shot at it. Somebody gonna take a shot at it. There's an instance and it's not really in the Bible. It's mentioned in the Bible. It's referenced in the Bible. I'm giving you hints as to an occurrence that demonstrates that in this so-called heaven, that without taking away man's ability to have free will and thought and knowledge of good and evil, heaven won't work. heaven will be another. Heaven will be this deity's ultimate failure because he's already failed at heaven once before. It's, I'm working and listening. Okay, Teresa. All right. Gotcha. So the place that you hear about the war in heaven. What's up, Carol? The war in heaven is in the books of Enoch. The books of Enoch describes this whole war of heaven. It describes this whole character, Azazel. I think in the book of Enoch, it's either Azazel or Samael. It's one of them who wars. It's not this Lucifer. It's not this Satan. It's not this serpent. No, but they warred in heaven. They fought, had a war. Most people say that the war in heaven was because this devil character decided that he wanted to be God, could do a better job. Well, if in the first heaven, with beings having free will and knowing, having the knowledge of good and evil, because remember in the garden, he said, if you eat from this tree, then you're going to be like us. And then this deity later on confirmed that and said that man has become like us in knowing the difference between good and evil. So man, and when man had that, even in the Garden of Eden, the enclosure, this Joker still was not obedient to this deity. So this after Revelations and after Armageddon heaven will be an absolute failure if it was real. What up, Paul? But it will be an absolute failure if it was real, because you would have to take away our ability to have free will as well as knowledge of good and evil. Now, according to this story, the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life and all these other trees, these 12 trees are going to be in this heaven, and it'll produce fruit, Now that some people have said, oh, that's an analogy for the 12 tribes of Israel will be there, and the production of fruit will be the children, the heavenly babies that they will have, and all this sort of thing. That's some Mormon sounding bullshit right there. But you're going to have some heavenly babies and then go and create another earth. That's the Mormon version says go and create a whole nother earth. But that's some Mormon like stuff, but having some babies in heaven. Because they're producing fruit in heaven. So if you make that the analogy of the 12 tribes of Israel, and they're producing fruit everywhere in this book where it talks about trees and producing fruit and the fruit of the womb, they talk about having babies. So at least you're going to be able to get some while you're in heaven. Y'all can get some poom poom while you're in heaven, which would mean that you're going to have separation between male and female in this heaven. But we can go a whole bunch of different ways with this stuff because it doesn't make sense and it doesn't fit the doctrine that people like to give you. But the fact of the matter is, if you have knowledge of good and evil in heaven, how long do you think before there will be another revolt? According to this story, if you remember any one of your lifetimes in this heaven, and you walking around, you looking for your grandma, you're looking for your granddad, you're looking for your parents, you're looking for your uncles, your aunties, your cousins, you're looking for your children, you're looking for your grandchildren, you're looking for all these people that you love. What's up, Renee? ¿Cómo estás? You're looking for all these people that you love, and and then you find out that your mama and your son are down in hell and they burning, being tortured 24/7, 360 for infinity, because there is no such thing as time. But they burning, y'all. They suffering, and you're in heaven. Everything's pretty. You're floating, flying around, praising this God day in and day night. While he sits on his altar, you're just praying, praising, praying and praising. It's like church all day. You're eating from this tree of life. Which, why do you need the tree of life if you're already supposed to be eternal? Because they said that you're going to get a new body. That's why you need a tree of life. So you're doing this nonsense, all the while knowing that those people that you love are burning in hell. I don't think this deity thought his plan out. Didn't think it too well. Too well. I don't think he understands humans. There's absolutely no way you can sit in heaven and be happy while people, with the knowledge that people that you love are burning in hell. The man says celestial North Korea. Paul said celestial North Korea. You're right. I mean, how could you do that? See, this, I'm gonna tell you, I would be the one. I would be the one. Hit you. How could you live in heaven knowing that they said our memories will not remember? Now, if you can't remember anything, that's one thing. You don't have affinity for any individual people, but if you still know that there are people who are suffering, if you still know that there are people who never even heard of this deity, but they're down there suffering, you're still going to have a problem. What about African traditional religions? Are they made up as well? Hell yeah, they made up. So, for clarity's sake, every religion is made up by man. All of them. Otamare, Shango, Eshu, Matawata, all made up. All creations of man. Uh, it is possible that's because I do think that there are people who were existing prior to the Younger Dryas Ice Age time frame that are highly advanced, and then they survived, and then they made themselves out to be gods. Some of these deities can be moved over into that category. Hold on for a second. I don't know why this girl knocking on my door. A plumber? A plumber. Like how deep of an issue is it? You want to see? It's disconnected her pedigree. She is mine since I injected up, so if you need it. Yes. So I know that my guy Ghost who comes here, I know he can do that level of work, but he doesn't get off his day job till 3. I can, but it'll be about a good hour or so before I do that because I'm on a live right now and I'm using both my phones. Okay. No, you're fine. But is she in immediate need right now, though? Well, whatever. No, I understand. But as soon as I finish this, I'll come. If she's still here, I come over there. I'll get a picture of it, send it to him. If it's just attaching piping, I know he can do that because I've had him do it before for me. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. No problem. Y'all think I own this building or something? But get the sister hooked up before the end of the day. Yeah. So where was I? Yeah, heaven, that place, that fake place. But no, all these, even the African traditional religions are made up religions. It's possible that some of these stories are coming from contact with higher technological beings. That's a possibility. But for the most part, it's made up. We didn't know why the volcano explodes. You make up a god. Why did the hurricane come? You don't understand satellite weather patterns. So you make up a deity, hurricane. It was man's best way of describing things of that time frame. And then you start developing rituals and ideas and thought processes. And most of those things are based on the culture that you live in. Yeah. There was a great Star Trek Generations episode, there was this planet that spun real fast, so it was moving at a faster rate of time than everybody else. The Voyager got stuck in their atmosphere and it couldn't get out. The first time it got stuck, it looked like a star to the primitive people there. And when an earthquake happened and this fruit fell off this tree, it was called a fire fruit. So those people, the guy who saw the star appear and saw the fruit fall with the earthquake, started believing that that was a new deity in the sky because it was a new star, and then said that that deity loves the fire fruit and was shaking the earth because they were picking this fire fruit. That this deity was mad at them because they was picking the fire fruit. So then the fire fruit became the fruit of the gods, and the people couldn't eat it. And then, of course, as they spun in time and developed, they realized that it was a spaceship up there. It wasn't a star, and that there was problems with it, and all these other things started happening. But it went through a quick evolution of culture of how they went from deifying a star, what they thought was a new star, and the effects of that new star, to creating rituals and religions and all that sort of thing. We've done the same thing. That's what we do. That's what we do. It's not a God plan. It's just nature and man's interaction and man's growth and development. But yes, the African traditional religions are just as made up as Christianity. You can slaughter a goat all day. You can cast lots or palm nuts. You can do all those things. I've done them because I in order for me to learn a religion, I practice the religion to learn it. So, I palmed the little palm nuts and did the rituals and prayers and all the stuff to a batala and all these things in order to learn it. And I found it just as superstitious laden, culturally based as any other religion. Now, there are certain aspects of it that has some levels of metaphysics and esoteric understandings. For instance, like there's no such thing as death. Your consciousness continues on in some form or fashion. Can anybody dictate exactly how it continues on? No, nobody actually knows. Do you have access to all your ancestors because their DNA is in your DNA? So there's a part of their consciousness that's in your consciousness. So you have access to that. Being able to connect to it, that's a whole nother story. That's why we make up all these rituals and everything. Can you disprove the Quran? Not as well, because I didn't study the Quran but about a year. And just as Abrahamic roots is enough for me to look at the Quran and say, okay, that's already a problem. The root of the tree is spoiled, and the fruit that it bears will eventually be spoiled as well. But the mere fact that the Quran says that if you're Muslim, you're wonderful and great, but if you're not Muslim, you're scum. Very much is what it's saying. Uh, that in itself cannot be the effects of a great deity, of a good deity. The treatment of women in the Quran, no. Women are treated as subpar. No. The justification of slavery in the Quran, even though in the Quran you are supposed to make a way for your slaves to be able to buy their freedom, and the treatment of slaves is better in the Quran than it is in this Bible, it still, to a certain degree, makes slavery okay. So, no. Any deity that says that slavery is okay, or even make rules for slavery, saying that I'm going to tolerate slavery, is not a good book. It's not. And at the end of the day, you can't prove Allah. Allah comes from, you got two different perspectives of where Allah and the worship of Allah comes from. You got, right, the Quran is pretty much saying the same thing as the Bible, just in Aramaic. And it talks about Jesus as if Jesus existed. So it's borrowing from Christianity as well. You got two different pathways of of the Quran of Allah of Islam. Both of them start with Abraham. You have Abraham has sex with his wife's handmaiden, Hagar, which then makes Hagar his slave wife. Hagar has Ishmael, and from Ishmael you get, I think it's 12 kings of Islam. You also got Abraham's wife after Sarah dies, Kathara. Kathara has her children. She has six kids. Those 6 kids become the Arab nations. And of course, the Arab nation is the one that that took on Islam, promoted it as a political weapon, and then dominated with Islam. And Islam, just like Christianity, came from a government wanting to use it as a political tool. It's not like Islam had this great evangelical messaging going around. It was a small little cult. And then I always get confused of which one won. But one of them is, you got 2 dudes, Abin Sahi and Malik. One was up in Syria, the other one was like North Judea's area. They were warring against each other. One of them took on Islam, made coins, made it a religion that the people were going to fight as a banner behind it. But he actually lost. And I think it was Malik. And then, I think it was Malik who did that. But he lost to Abin Sahi. Abin Sahi realized how vigorous and how the people fought as they were believing in this Islam. So then he converted to Islam, converted his people to Islam. And from that, began to conquer the Arab nation under this banner of Islam. Because when you tell people that they're fighting for God, God is on your side, you can get them to fight harder. It's amazing psychological warfare. Wasn't Allah altered from the goddess Alet? From Alet, a goddess who worshipped before the patriarch? I'm not sure. Muslims mean surrender. Yep. Means they surrender to Allah, surrender to God. Islam takes a lot of Ethiopian knowledge. Islam has 2,700 Ethiopian words. That's new stuff for me. But when I looked at that history of Islam, of how it started, how it became popularized, and the fact that when they conquered a people, if you were Islamic, they wouldn't tax you, but then they would tax the hell out of the people who were living amongst them who wasn't Islamic, and that tax pressure caused people to convert to Islam. If it wasn't through taxation, it was done through violence. So there was another problem I had with Islam. Then you have Muhammad marrying a 14-year-old girl. Another problem with Islam. And when you look at the Islamic world today, none of them are actually functioning as a true Islamic state. What is your spiritual path in life, coach? Oh, I said life coach, and it threw me off because I thought the doing the work of a life coach, which I am getting I got a new client that starts at the end of the month, so that's going to be fun. I enjoy coaching people into finding their own spiritual path. If I had to give my spiritual path any kind of a title, which is easier for people to understand when you give it a title, know that the title doesn't make for the whole. But if I had to give it a title, I would say that I am a hermetic alchemist, is how I would title it. You can put me in the category of agnostic. I believe that there is some type of intelligent designer, but until I have enough proof, I'm not going to. It can't be. It's not this one or that one or that one or that one. Nor will I say that it fully exists because I don't have. There's not enough hardcore evidence. There's some evidence, but not hardcore evidence. There's evidence just in looking at nature, seeing the functionality of how everything in the universe works in unison with each other and corrects itself. Um, but until somebody show up to some supernatural big being and is beyond what I can devise as aliens or interdimensional beings show up and do something, till I, nah. But so I study a lot of things. I've studied the Bible. I've studied the Abrahamics, the Eastern religions, a lot of the ancient religions, the ancient religions all over the world. And I, through with hermeticism and alchemy as a basis, I literally nitpick that which fits into those paradigms. The closest, and I don't really like calling Taoism a religion, it's more of a philosophical way of living. I would put Taoism closer to Stoicism. But the difference between Taoism and Stoicism, that Taoism does talk about getting into the flow of the universal way, the mind of getting into the mind of the all. It does profess a type of deity, but not this. Uh, I'm all involved with the mechanisms of how man works and functions, and I'm hardening hearts and killing babies and telling you that you gotta sacrifice animals and sending myself or sending messengers and all this sort of thing. And there are angels and demons and all of that. It doesn't have that nonsense. You mean a 6-year-old girl? Muhammad means praiseworthy. Muhammad performs circumcisions. Oh, I didn't know the girl was 6. I thought she was 14, but that's even worse at 6 years old. Um, and that female circumcision, one is stupid and shows you that how much they didn't know about biology at the time. The majority of a woman's clitoris is inside of her pum pum. It is not the tip that sits on the outside. But men are so stupid as to think that that is it. And then the use of that to try to control a woman is absolutely insane. To traumatize these little girls at that age is horrible. It's horrific. But simply showing that the Abrahamic religion, the Judaism is a falsified religion, and these other two religions are based on it, thereby makes it falsified within itself. Guilt, what's the law we have here? Guilt by association. You got a whole lot of Abrahamic and a whole lot of Christianity, and make it a new thing called called Islam. No, it doesn't work that way. I know there's what is it? Don't people we use spoiled milk to make something and people like it? I can't like it because it's still spoiled milk. He did circumcisions on boys just like the priests. I keep showing people that Islam, Judaism, Christianity are the same religion, just different languages. Actually, Haven, if you look into the ancient past, you'll find that Kemetic people, especially the rich people in royalty, they perform circumcisions. The Phoenicians, not the Phoenicians, yeah, the Phoenicians, some Phoenician society performs circumcisions. Some Canaanite societies. There are multiple societies throughout history that has performed circumcisions before and after this Judaism. Cottage cheese, yeah, yeah. And let me tell you, I love Italian food. But if you make Italian food, especially lasagna, with some cottage cheese, you going to hell. You going to hell. That is disrespectful. No, I don't think there's anything wrong with circumcision myself. DeHaven said that there is nothing wrong with circumcision, just showing the parallels between the three. Right, and that is a parallel. But I don't, I don't think. To me, there's nothing wrong with circumcision. I was circumcised. My son was circumcised. Any of my kids have kids. I'm gonna tell them they get the boy circumcised. I have a problem with female circumcision, but male circumcision, no. And that's really more of a societal thing. I just know how he's gonna get. If they're living in a Western culture, I know they're gonna get treated differently when it comes to women, for the most part, if they're not circumcised. You can be just as clean, but hey, it's the culture that we live in. You love cottage cheese. I know not to eat lasagna made by. So we know I'm not eating any lasagna made by Debbie. Appreciate that serenity. Can't have if you put cottage cheese in your lasagna, you know we got to have a side conversation. I got to teach you how to make it. Get some ricotta. You get down with ricotta, but not doing cottage cheese. Hell, I don't need my lasagna to be binded, so to have a binding element in there. It'll bind if I just let it cool off. But anyway, it's the whole getting off. That's Angelina. Angelina really could do a cooking show because that shit. Oof. Y'all saw that 30 pounds I gained. Now I recently lost 5 of them so far, but that 30 pounds she put on me, all that cooking. But back to the subject at hand. Uh, yeah, I'm changing it a bit. I'm changing it a bit because free will and ultimatum is just I didn't expect to have this conversation. Um, I expected it to be mostly about free will versus an ultimatum, as well as this guy's plan is to support whatever government that is in place. But this deity is an abject failure in everything that it does. It sits here. I ain't gonna say everything, but in most things that it does. James, I'm sorry, y'all. James. James said to all you lasagna lovers, you haven't had real lasagna until you have shredded bologna. Bologna. Bologna? Is that bologna? Because that's what in it. Like bologna. Like Oscar Mayer bologna. Like with the red little strip. Y'all don't know nothing about that red little strip. That's disgraceful, sir. You putting raisins in the potato salad. You got onions in the coleslaw. I'm gonna knock the shit out of that until I try it. I'm knocking. The only way you get me to try that, bro, is you better not tell me. You better not tell me that there's bologna in my lasagna. Oh hell no! You bet not. Whoa. What is it? Well, sorry. According to Quran, everyone with dark skin is destined to be in the hellfire. Yeah, bro, I understand a lot about Islam. I was once Muslim. See, that's where you and I, if we talked about Islam, I would need you live on the show to talk about that one because I don't know as much about it because it was what 25 plus years ago when I studied that. Oh, this man. Oh, yes, Angelina. He talking about Angelina now. She done woke up, so she on here. Oh, she on YouTube. Oh, he putting bologna in the lasagna. We need some holy water. I need to write it on a piece of paper, spin around 3 times, and throw it over my left shoulder. The power of Italian food compels you. The power of Italian food compels you. Oh, oh, oh. And I just told Angelina that as soon as I get my passport situation squared away, the first trip that I would take her on is simply to go to Italy just to eat. We both have seen all the stuff, but so we would be going just to eat. Whew. Man, you get me sidetracked. I'm gonna leave that one alone. But this God's plan for heaven is a failure. Even when you look at it from the Islamic point of view, that God's plan for heaven is also a failure, because your plan is always going to be a failure when you have separated the people. Those who didn't believe in you have went to hell, and Muslim hell is kind of fucked up. You know, you go there every day and they peel back your skin and then burn you, and then you get a respite where your skin heals back, and then you go and repeat the same process. That's one of the descriptions of hell that I've heard. The Haven can correct me if I'm wrong about that. But one Islamic group was teaching me that part, that's where hell comes from. I mean, that's what you experience in hell. So it's like you still are in this heaven, you're in paradise, but you know that people are suffering like that. And let's think about this plan. You suffer in this hell if you don't worship this deity. But billions and billions of people have lived and died in this body form, have lived and died, going on to wherever they go, whatever happens. And yet they never heard of Allah. They never heard of Jesus. Right? So if they've never heard of this deity, many of more generations that go from the first time any of my ancestors ever heard of Christianity or Islam, I have more generations that's never heard of these deities. They didn't get a chance to hear it. They didn't hear about them. How do you justify that? How do you justify them burning in your hells and they've never heard of your deity before? And the Haven just expressed the same thing that Christians express. He said, heaven is just as worth because they will spend every second praying and worshiping Allah. Christianity is the same. You will spend pretty much all day. Just because there are songs that say walking around in heaven, that is not how it's described. It's described as you at the throne of this deity, praising this deity all day, and this deity is providing the light. And so there is no darkness, there's no nighttime. And so all day for all eternity, could you imagine all day, all night, praising this God? Just, oh, thank you. Oh, I only spent 80 years on earth, but now I'm spending an eternity with this of praising you. What type of ego, maniacal, narcissistic being would want to spend eternity with people just giving them praise? What we would call that person a egomaniac, a narcissistic egomaniac at that, if somebody today wanted that. I mean, what was it? Idi Amin? He wanted to be called this big grand title. I forgot what the title was, but some big grand title. Every time you address him, you have to address him as this big grand title. And we know that this man was an egomaniac. So what does that make this deity that you want billions of souls doing this? Do I astral travel? Sometimes when I choose to. But you want billions of souls. Trillions could, a number can't be named. Just praising you. Praising you, praising you, praising you, praising you. There will be a revolt. This will be, according to Islam, this is how God chooses in, this is how God improves its existence, by us serving and worshiping it. I wouldn't want to go. Short story. I was what, 6, 7 years old, in church with my grandmother. I asked my grandmother, what is heaven like? She said, oh, baby, it's like being in church all day. We're just going to be praising God and singing to God all day, all night, just constantly for all eternity. I thought about that for like a week. Then I came to my grandmother. I said, Grandma, I love you. I don't want to go to heaven. And she was like, why? I said, heaven sounds boring. Heaven sounds painful. I figure I'm going to be really, really, really bad here on earth. And if I'm bad enough, then maybe the devil will give me a good job in hell. This is I was this is before I started questioning the Bible. So I was about 6, 7, 8, somewhere around in that age range. Where that's what I told my grandmother. I'm gonna be a hellion on earth so I can get me a prove my value to the devil. So maybe I can get a good job. And my grandmother would she wouldn't just go at me. And I remember her saying, well, what's a good job in heaven? I said, maybe I'm at the gate letting people in so I can be like the bouncer, or I can be one of the people, one of the demons who torture the people. That way I'm not being tortured, but I'm torturing the people. And that's, and I do remember she laughed at me when I told her that, but I was dead serious. You couldn't tell me nothing. Couldn't tell me nothing. All right, us worshiping God in Islam is how it proves its existence. That's a weak argument because that means if I worship Zeus, then that proves Zeus's existence. If I worship, you know, Obatala, then I'm proving Obatala exists. That's just proving what people believe. Yeah, I'm gonna give me a good job in hell. And nope, stop calling me. There's no free will in Islam because everything is preordained. Here's how you know: the Abrahamic religion followers do not really believe their book says the earth is flat, but they believe it's a globe. Well, you can go. Okay, so for the first part of that, yeah, the Bible talks about everything is preordained as well. I think in Psalms or one of them, it talks about every day of your life has already been preordained. And um, in the New Testament, it talks similar about how God already knows every decision that you're going to make. So this is why the Calvinists separated from the other Protestants because of predestination. So I was preordained to walk away from this deity, according to them, and walk away from all these deities. Now, as far as the Earth being flat and globe, depending upon which, see, all these books are written by multiple people during different time frames over 1,500 to 1,000 years. Well, 1,500 to 1,000. That's wrong. 1,500 to 2,000 years of writing at different time frame, depending upon what group you're talking about. Some of them thought it was flat. Some of them thought it was a sphere. Enoch, for instance, the book of Enoch talks about the earth being a sphere, whereas in your Matthew, where it talks about Jesus was taken to a highest mountain and saw every kingdom of the earth. You can only do that on a flat planet. Can't do that on a sphere. Won't have the line of sight. They talk about the hitting going to the edge of the earth. In order to have an edge, you have to have a flat earth. So there's a little back and forth in there about what those people believed at different times. And it's always been something that different people believe at different times. But for the most part, most civilizations have believed that the Earth was a sphere. Uh, when you look at it from a world perspective, and in today's world, there are less people who believe that it is a flat Earth than it is being a sphere. Flat or sphere, it's a hologram. Why does it matter? And even in that one, depends on what type of hologram you're talking about. Is it a hologram in the mind of the all, in the mind of the creator, or is it a hologram as far as a different civilization that exists on some other planet and we're all running through a computer program on some massive computer system from some other civilization or in some other dimension? So the celestial bodies are a sphere according to Abrahamic religions. Yeah, and I would agree with them. When I have my telescope, I look at the moon. The moon is not flat; it's a sphere. It's a weird little. It's interesting to look at the moon through a telescope. Um, but I would really love to. Have they ever pointed Hubble at Mars? I know they always showing all these pictures of these galaxies and nebulas and all that stuff, but have they ever pointed it at like the planets in our solar system? I'm gonna look that up. You know, in terms of how these observations. Yep, it actually has. They used Hubble to look at Mars before, and it looks pretty spherical. And it doesn't look like the way they always showing pictures, even though they usually put a reddish tint on it. Then, but NASA tells you that they purposely put a reddish tint on it, but it's actually more of a yellowish brown, and it has polar caps and a little bit of cloud movement, cloud coverage. I was gonna say it wouldn't make sense to have that telescope out there and you not look at the planets in our own solar system. But every other planet is spherical. Every other heavenly body is a sphere, but yet the Earth is flat. That would be a weird anomaly within itself. We could be living inside of an organism inside of a person like Osmosis Jones. Man, don't talk about Osmosis Jones like that. Okay, so every little sidebar, every time when I go through my like if I'm not feeling well and I go through my own self meditations to mentally heal my body because I don't like taking chemical medicines, I use the model of Osmosis Jones to do just that. Like I would see the army of a bacteria, so to say. Let's say I had a bacteria in my gums or something. In my mind, my white blood cells from my immune system, they're a military and they're using tanks and catapults and depending I might fight in different era styles of fighting. And I imagine them waging war and winning over the virus or the bacteria or whatever it is. And that's how I meditate. And I use Osmosis Jones in a sense to do that. Uh, but yeah, but yes, everything on the earth seems to be have a more solid form of some spherical type shape. So I'm gonna go with sphere. But I still think that, and science as well. So I still think that it doesn't matter when it comes to spirituality, which is for the most part non-material. Yeah, when it comes to spirituality, flat sphere doesn't matter at all. Try not to get into a flat Earth conversation though, as I don't like those conversations. They bore me to death. Um, but so this I'm trying to think of when this deity has succeeded. Because creating, if I was the creator, you see, people often ask me, who do I think I am that I can question this creator? The fact that I could have come up with a better situation than this creator makes it so that I'm better. I can question the one that they have in this book. You know, I would have done it much, 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 much better. Like the first thing I would have done is make men and women equal. outlaw slavery. I wouldn't have just told Adam, hey, look, this deal. You can eat from everything. You can do whatever you want. Just don't eat from that tree. Look at Adam. It's this thing when you get more and more people, it's going to be, well, first of all, it wouldn't have been one person, two people created. It would have been a society created because you don't want to have all them mixture of, you don't want incest right off the bat. So we're going to have a bunch of people. They're going to have rules against slavery right off the bat, rules against, they're going to have some of the other rules of murder and all that kind of stuff. And they're going to have all these, they're going to have the understanding of all these other things that I don't want them to do that would just cast society into a downward spiral. Basically, I would make it such a strong innate thing in them that you don't do to other people what you wouldn't want done to yourself. That would be the primary rule. That would be the primary understanding that I would give them. You don't want to be treated as less than somebody else, so you can't treat women less than what you are. You can't treat another color less than what you are. You can't perform any human. Matter of fact, I don't need sacrifice. There are no sacrifices. No animal needs to be bludgeoned. No person needs to be bludgeoned. Those things are unnecessary. They do absolutely nothing. I don't need to smell the sweet aroma of burning flesh. So right off the whip, I already know I'm gonna create a better planet and a better society than this deity. So that's why I can question this deity, because every way that it's done it, it's failed. It had to, according to it had to flood the entire planet because it failed. It was a failed experiment. According to this thing, it's got to destroy the planet with fire and brimstone after, at a certain time frame, because it fails again. This whole creation of this deity is a failure, right? The earth would have some kind of shielding around it. Every planet that I create life on it will have some type of shielding around it that big ass asteroids would just bounce off instead of annihilating the populations. It just wouldn't happen. Wouldn't have those things. I would have it set up right. Just in those small things. I'm better than this deity. No one would have the right to take anybody's life. What if what if the writers of these books never intended for us to think it was talking about people? What if the characters are just personifications of things around us, like it is in Kemet? From my studies, all the three books are fables based on celestial bodies above. For the most part, you're absolutely right. That would make more sense. I like his thinking, but he is not God. Then who is God, Jason? Who is God, Jason? But yes, the Kemetic people had, most of their stories were just personifications of nature around them. And most of these religions started that way, where they deified nature around them as their method of explaining and understanding it. And for the most part, most of the people of that time frame understood that. But as man began to utilize it for power, those things become lost. Generator, operator, destroyer. That's a new acronym. I've never seen that one before. He is speaking based on what he knows to be true. Is the he me or the he Jason? Is Miss? Make sure I gotta look at these pictures to make sure I want to use a wrong. Do I say your name Billy? Miss Morrison? Is it Billy? I've never seen it spelled that way. Or is it Billy? Billy. Is it Billy or Billy? I'm thinking it's Billy. I am a Mason, and I've never heard anybody use that acronym, but I can see how it would work from a Masonic point of view. I've just never heard anybody use that. Usually, we just refer to it as the Grand Architect of the Universe. Oh, so Billy. Okay, great. All right, cool. I learned a new way to spell Billy. But no, we just refer to him as the Grand Architect of the Universe because you don't have to be any one religion within Masonry. Oh, shit. Hold on. Y'all talking too much on. No, you ain't talking too much. Let me see if I can catch up on some of this. What about overpopulation? Yeah, the planet is overpopulated. We got too many people. But we got too many people only because of how we live on this planet. Let me be clearer on that one. In the lounge, if people come to the lounge, they know I say something different. Because I be messing with these jokes. I was like, we need to kill half these people. We need to get down to 500 million people. But the way we exist on this planet, we exist on this planet like a virus. The planet is not actually overpopulated. We just are a virus to this planet right now. And because we're not living in harmony with it. Sounds like the Bible. Sounds like the Bible, like Bible guy, rage quits the game when it loses. Yeah, he does. It's like a little kid. He's gonna take his ball home and play. The book repeatedly gives example of their supernatural deities failing, yet worshipers continue to claim it does everything perfectly. Right. This guy just fails all the time. Oh, I'm gonna kill everybody, and I want all the Nephilim to be gone. Then there are more Nephilims left around. It fails. It can't even annihilate the planet right. Repeat that statement. I'm sorry, I don't know which statement it is. The book and Skybox. Kenny Kenny sound same like to me. I don't know what that means. God is creator. What people call God is called by many names, but has no name. Right. That's what the Tao says. The moment you name a deity, the moment you put it in a book, it is no longer God. Right. Yahweh is a God of war and thunder. It's a storm god. It's a Canaanite god that has a wife named Asherah. All right. God is an injected title and description. It is not the name means to be powerful. You can use that description however you want to. Sure can. Oh, you're talking about my creation of the planet? Say my creation of the planet is on point. You think we're too populated in one area and neighborhood? Yeah, we do need to spread out. Spread out. Like 80% of the population in the United States lives on the East Coast, east of Mississippi. We need to spread out. I'm not going out that way, but we need to spread out. And we consume too much meat and too much fish. We're destroying the planet. But yes, the way I would create the planet, it would have been a much nicer place to live. And I would have made it, you're making man, so you can make it how you want to. It will be so, man would, it will be so innate to man to not do something that goes against what they would want done to themselves that you wouldn't murder anybody. You wouldn't steal. What if humans are the earth cancer and the natural disasters of the earth are cleaning itself on a fast, on a fast, trying to heal? It is like we are a virus. Mr. Smith, Agent Smith said it perfectly in the first Matrix. He said that I tried to classify humans. You move about consuming everything, but all we do is destroy. We just destroy, destroy, destroy. Skybox, you're more right than you realize. Yeah. But we just destroy ourselves, our environment. I mean, how much? If I was an alien race looking at Earth and I was saying, I want to go down there and meet these people, we want to introduce them to galactic society. But then I would look at man, evaluate man. I would be on the planet evaluating and seeing how they're doing. Like, hold on, they built a whole bunch of weapons aimed to destroy themselves. You know, they see that their consumption of meat and fish is destroying their oceans. You destroy the ocean, the whole planet dies. You destroy the atmosphere, the whole planet goes through disaster cycles more rapidly. But yet we keep doing it in the name of nationhood and independence. You know, we create food out of non-food material. What the hell is wrong with y'all? Is what I'll be saying. Like, y'all got problems. Y'all got to go. Y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready. All y'all gonna do is spread your virus to a whole nother planet. And maybe like Osmosis Jones, we are just a cell. And all the other bodies and planets that have life are other cells. And if we get too close to those cells or interact with those cells, then all we'll do, like a cancer, is kill and consume that cell and turn that cell into a cancer cell, and then continue to spread the disease until the whole universe hemorrhages. Redline, and yeah, having redlining. How you gonna redlining is anti-capitalistic. For a capitalistic country to redline is anti-capitalistic. Aliens like they can't even fathom someone being different skin tones. They're not ready. Exactly. Reincarnation and evolution to a higher spiritual being is the only thing that makes sense to me as I continue to study. It is. That's the only thing that made sense to me as well. There, we have to. If we don't rise to a higher consciousness, then we are doomed to self-destruction. We are completely doomed to self-destruction. There is absolutely no way we are going to survive without a change of consciousness on the planet. And it has to be planet wide. At least the overwhelming majority of people will have to change their consciousness and uplift their consciousness in order for this planet to survive. Otherwise, I don't know how long it's going to take, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 100,000 years, 1,000,000 years. We gonna die. We gonna be, this planet will be devoid of us. And if you think about it, if you take humans out of the equation, the earth would flourish. Isn't that sad? That's a sad thing. Take humans out of the equation, the earth will then flourish. Flora and fauna will regain their balance and take over all this industrialization. The animal, the number of animals would coincide with predator and prey and in the whole food chain. You know, sure, there still may be some diseases and viruses will be here and there to keep a check on things. There will still be forest fires, which forest fires actually, and I don't, I'm not saying that people should have lost their lives in Hawaii, but it revitalizes the planet, the earth, the land, I should say. And from those forest fires, new life is bred. Same thing with everything. We mess it up. What idiotic people would build their houses in places where they know tornadoes consistently come? Build their houses on fault lines. Like, who in their right mind lives in California? Once you realize that it's a fault line there and that at any day you could be swallowed by the earth, why would you live there? Doesn't make any sense to me. I know some of y'all love California, but there's absolutely no way if you told me, hey, you can have the $1.5 billion lottery that they just had, or $2 billion lottery, whatever it got up to. But in order to get it, you got to live in California. I'm all right. I'm good. Don't get me wrong. I would love to live that lifestyle, but not at the cost of having to live in California. Anytime I've been in California, I'm ready to go because you don't know when it's gonna happen. I would never live in Tornado Alley. And if you look at how our environment is going with global warming and everything, the southeast is becoming a second tornado alley, or rather, tornado alley is expanding through the southeast up from like Kentucky down to Florida. So I gotta get the hell out of here. I'm not living in the Caribbean, even though I plan on moving to the Caribbean because that's as far away as I can go right now until I get my passport situated. But one of the reasons why I choose Africa is because they have um, Africa has less natural disasters. Now there are some fault lines in Africa. I'm not living in those countries. Why would I live there? It makes no sense. Why would I live somewhere where there's an annual monsoon rainfall that creates mudslides that could destroy your home and you die? Why would I live near a big ass volcano that's active? That don't make any sense. That $1 billion, but you have to live in Atlanta. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it. Atlanta doesn't have the issues that most other places have, and there are parts of Atlanta that you can live in where you don't really have there. Like you can look and see where tornadoes hit in Atlanta, and that's about the only real major. That's all tornado here and there, flash flood here and there. But the majority of the city, you're not going to have to deal with those kinds of things. So I could do Atlanta. You give me that bill, I can do it. I do Atlanta. Atlanta. It's cognitive dissonance and denial. They refuse to believe that they'll die in an earthquake, hurricane, or tornado. Yeah, they do. All them people thought that they were like, oh, I've ridden out so many hurricanes before. Then Katrina hit their ass. Bet you they ain't thinking that no more. Look, when I was living in Tampa, Hurricane Mitch was supposed to hit Tampa. After we took care of the reserve station, my Marine reserve station, I put the sandbags all around my house, and then I came up here to Atlanta. And then, foolishly enough, that goddamn Hurricane Mitch changed directions and came up here towards Atlanta, and we had a tropical storm. I was like, son of a. But when I saw it changing, I got back in my car and we went back to Tampa. Like, I wasn't even going to stay here in Atlanta for a tropical storm. It's crazy. If one of y'all was attacking me, I'm going to fight you back. But you can't fight nature. You just really can't. You can't fight it. So why stay in it? Why stay in it? I'm not staying in this mess. But that's the same mentality that these people have towards. Oh, he said Alaska. Oh, hell no. My bad. I thought you said Atlanta. I don't have my glasses on. Hell no. No, no, sir. No, sir. No, no, no. Let me tell you, my unit was supposed to go to cold weather training. There was an option that you can go to POW school. I went to POW school. I'd rather go get my ass whooped than be 3 weeks in the cold like that. Hell no. We were supposed to go to desert training. I chose to go to jungle survival training instead of going to desert training in 29 Palms, California. One, I didn't want to be in California. Two, why would I ever want to be in the desert like that? No. No, I already been to Desert Storm. I don't want to be in the desert like that. Crazy. These Bedouins and people who live in the desert, they're crazy. But I'm not. Let's go live somewhere where our bodies are 70 to 80% water, but there is hardly any water. And then they got the little rattlesnakes and shit out there and scorpions and You will never get me to live in Alaska. You'll never get me to live in Australia. I say Alaska won't be cold much longer. Man, look, Alaska will be underwater if all these ice caps melt. Most of Alaska will then be underwater. Think about it. When the Younger Dryas ended, the ocean levels rose 400 feet. If we have another semi-youngest Dryas and it rises with all the polar caps that we got now, I don't know what the ocean level would rise at if the polar caps melted. But I know I saw this thing a long time ago where it said that if the ocean rises 10 feet, then it's 10 feet or 10 inches, one of them, then Florida will be underwater, which is why I would never live in Florida again. I'm not doing. The hell, I'm gonna sit there and try to fight nature. So if all the ice melted, the oceans would rise 230 feet, flooding every coastal city on the planet. I'd be like, y'all want to come to the beach here in Atlanta? 230 feet. Hell no. And you know what? This is this. Okay, y'all got to understand my mind. My mind ain't always right. I actually would love to see if we had enough solar radiation to disrupt our magnetic field so that the polar caps melted in like a week, and these big ass tidal waves and stuff come flowing down. Because I just want to see what Christians will have to say, since their Bible says that this guy would not flood the earth again. Like, I want to hear their excuse. Yeah, I know a lot of people will die and all that sorts of things, but I literally just want to hear their excuse. I don't want people to have to go through that, but there's a part of me that does want that to happen, just so I can hear what excuse the Christian world is going to give. Just like I did the video the other day where the guy was saying that, hey, these forest fires is God is did those forest fires in Alaska. So Chile and Argentina are in their winter, but the temperatures are reaching 100 degrees. Good gracious. 100-degree winter in Chile or Argentina. You know those are mostly mountainous areas. They should never reach 100 degrees. Ever. Now, these people will say that this is God's work. Knowing good and well, we can scientifically decide how these would scientifically figure out exactly why these polar caps are melting, why these areas are being flooded, why these hurricanes happen, why these thunderstorms and all these tornadoes and stuff happen. We know why. And then they'll say, well, yeah, but that was part of God's plan. That's how God planned it. He's using man to do it. So this God is telling man, is compelling us to destroy the planet. Wouldn't that negate your free will again? If this deity was compelling man to destroy the planet, then that would negate the whole idea of free will once again. And we would have no free will. And if he's taking away that free will, then why? Then what was the whole purpose? There's no purpose in us being here for his purpose. His purpose doesn't match, I should say. This guy's purpose wouldn't match. And then, if this deity's plan was for all of this destruction to happen, and he's the cause of all this destruction, then doesn't that make it, like my man said, generator, operator, destroyer? Then this deity will be a destroyer. He's Drax the Destroyer. That his plan was, I want to see all this pain and suffering, this destruction, this murdering, this killing, these weather conditions, causing upheavals in civilization and all these people suffering and dying. Right. If he caused everything and pre-planned everything, you have no free will. And if he did it because he wanted to show his power, then what you do then is you don't leave options or opportunities to explain it away. If you I know their belief is that faith is a belief without evidence, then you would make it so that there are no facts. You would, if I was this deity and I want to make sure that y'all know I exist, I'm showing the hell up. Oh yeah. Oh, he got millions of bodies in the Bible, while the devil only got about 10. But I will make it so that you know it's me. I be like in the sky and the whole planet can see me because I'll project myself everywhere. And then I would like make clouds. You know, in the movies when it's a clear day and then you just see the clouds just roll in, and thunder and lightning and like pow, pow, bang, bang, and rain and flooding and big giant spouts jump out the ocean and water's just coming everywhere. It would be clear cut. I seen the deity and I saw the deity do the deed. I saw things happen that are outside of everything that we scientifically know about nature happen. And you got to believe me. If I wanted to do it a destructive way, if I wanted to do it a nice way, I'd be floating over everybody and I just wave my hand and all your sicknesses and all your diseases are gone. All the areas that are suffering from drought now they're sprouting up green and fruits and vegetables are everywhere and just the bounty is plentiful. And I'd be like, hey, I'm God. All right, now this is how I need y'all to live. And that'd be it. There's no question. There's no question at that point. You know it's me. I did it. You know what I'm saying? I did it. Like, so at my house, um, I say my house, but at our house, it's me, Angelina, and we have a temporary roommate, right? I'm not there right now. But if I go home and let's say the laundry was done. Now, if it's me and Angelina's laundry, I assume that Angelina did it. But because there's a third person there is the possibility, remote as hell, that the third person did the laundry, right? So there's a possibility of being right and wrong as far as who did it. But when soon and very soon it's just me and Angelina, and I leave the house and there's a basket of dirty laundry, and I come home and I know she's been home, I'm a certain she did it, right? And that goes vice versa. If she comes home and she sees that there's some changes in the house, she will know that I did it. If we're the only two that have access, she knows it. If both of us are there and we see each other, she see me go in the bathroom and clean the bathroom, see me scrub the tub, then she know I did it. There's no question. There's no mystical being that miraculously did it. You know who did it. This deity has a problem letting people know that it exists, primarily because the deity in itself doesn't exist. But if it did, it's a simple solution. And then it's a consistent thing that you would have to do as well. All right. People say, well, he did it. It's in the Bible. They recorded it. He was right there walking with Abraham right before they destroyed the planet. He came in there and Abraham had to wash his feet and feed him and all these different things. Like he was right there. Jesus was right there. All right. 2,000 years has went by. Now you just expect me to believe what somebody said a long time ago. You expect me to believe what somebody said 2,000 years ago. My family tells me stories about my grandfather before I knew my grandfather, and when I was a baby, and prior to me being a baby, they tell me stories about it. I have to take. I'm accepting their stories, but how exactly true is their stories? Because their stories is coming from a point of view from each one of my aunts and uncles and my mom. But I don't know if he actually did those things exactly as they say, right? Me and Angelina was talking about this. How if you had the stories of generations long past, it would be a great thing to have, but you're still hearing those stories based on someone else's point of view and what they believed in the culture and their condition, their culture at that time. 1,000 years from now, if I all these recordings that I make now, and some of the stories that I've told of my grandmother, my grandfather, my mom, and all of them, some people 1,000 years from now are going to extrapolate that my grandmother, even today, people will extrapolate my grandmother was the nicest, never did anything wrong in her entire life. Because as far as I remember and as far as I experienced, my grandmother has never done anything wrong. She was more perfect than the Virgin Mary. My grandfather had many faults, many. And that would be their perception of those two people. But my grandfather had many great attributes as well, taught me many great things as well. And I'm sure that my grandmother did something that was not so great in her history, but there will be no recording of her doing anything wrong in her entire history. So 1,000 years from now, that would be what they would believe. And that's what we have with this book, with all these books, with all these stories. Without my grandmother living and demonstrating who she is to my whatever generation of mine that is 1,000 years from now, they won't know the true person. They won't know the personality, the actions, the love, the caring, or even the negative things. They will know none of those things. Well, actually, I do know one thing that I deem is incorrect, that's wrong, that my grandmother did. I just thought about that. And that's the fact that, as far as my knowledge, and what I was told, she stopped having stopped having intimacy with my grandfather when they were in their 50s, at least their 50s. Now, I'm not saying my grandfather was justified to go out and find him some poom poom and have a whole nother family, one county north, but I know that was the results of him not getting none. This is why, even though I take a lot of my grandmother's advice, that's one of the things that I would tell, I tell my daughters and any of the women in my family or any woman that comes into contact with me. If, some men are dogs, but some men are dogs. Some men just have to have more. And then there are some men that they go out and get them some extra because they're not getting that at home. So as long as you're doing your part, you eliminate one of the symptoms of what could create that situation. And plus, it was kind of part of the culture back then that men normally had side pieces all the time. Baba guy got to. This deity has a problem with letting people know it exists. It does. It doesn't know how to do it the right way. That's why I will make a better creator than this guy, because I will make sure that people constantly, at all times, every generation, know I exist. Baba guy got to get with the times. People not reading. He got to drop the podcast or YouTube videos. Oh yeah, yeah. And see, it would have to be a consistent thing that would have to happen. Like if he decided to, this the guy decided to start right now of dropping a weekly podcast. Initially, we're going to think that this is some bogus bullshit that somebody just created, a whole bunch of CGI and all that kind of stuff. But then drop the podcast, talk about some things you're going to do, and then go out and do it. Go out and do them, and consistently go do it, go do it, go do it, go do it. And it has to be like magnificent. Like you have to be awestruck when it happens. There have to be some things at those kinds of levels. And then consistency is what makes people accept something, right? I always say when I'm dating someone that however you start with me, you have to continue. Don't start doing something and then you drop off. That consistency of your actions is going to demonstrate who you really are. When those consistencies stop, then I'm going to say, okay, that was just what you was doing for a time frame. That doesn't work. So you have to be consistent. This deity is not consistent. It's not going to work, right? These channels have all grown over the last year, especially this particular year, because I decided that I was going to be much more consistent than I've ever been in my life as far as podcasting and that sort of thing. But those consistencies have to be there. There are times where I don't want to do this, like this morning, today. I literally got here and milled around for about 30 minutes before I got started because I wasn't in the mood. But I know that consistency is very important. So you do it anyway. This guy want me to believe in it. Be consistent. Because right now, according to your Bible, your Qurans, your Vedics, all your books, you're inconsistent as hell. Imagine a YouTube video clickbait title, blowing up Florida at 1 million subscribers. Skybox, you crazy. ah, ah. So you got me thinking. I should do something like that. Not as dramatic as blowing up Florida. I probably get some 3-letter organizations showing up at my door for that one. But if I started a video series and changed my channel perspective to be the world will end, what year is it? We 2013. The world will end in 2030. And I'm gonna give you all these, I create all these predictions and things that are going to happen leading up to it and all that kind of stuff. The channel probably blow up. It'll probably blow up. The world's gonna end in 2030. And then when we get to about 20, and then I will insert in there that if these certain other things happen, then the world will be right around 2028, 2029. If the word interject something that says that if this or that happens, then the world will gain a reprieve. And so we have to now start doing this or whatever it is, and the world will get a reprieve from, its destruction. Because, I got to keep it going. And then when 2030 hit, I do a big grand, we have been saved, we have been spared because the world did do this thing, but we only did it to, a 5x level. And we had to reach 10x to save the world. So we've been given more time. The new prediction is that we have gained 20 years. And in the next 20 years, we have to do this, this, and this. But until that happens, the meter scale will go up or down based on us moving in this direction. If this happens, then we're going to head towards destruction. I can probably get away with it. I could probably get away with that. Yes, that's some reverse psychology. And as the channel grows and all of a sudden I got millions of subscribers and all that kind of stuff, I'll be sitting, I'm gonna be honest with you, Boondocks and Skybox. I'll be a billionaire, that's for one. Be definitely a big social media influencer. And every time I go off camera, I'll be laughing my ass off in private. I be like, these stupid motherfuckers. Y'all know I ain't right in my mind. I be like, these stupid motherfuckers. I'd be like that preacher that I posted a video of. I got the biggest house in Botswana. I got another. And Raquel just came by and threw $5,000 over the fence. Look, and here's the thing about it. I'm not the guy that y'all need to give those kind of ideas to, because I am the guy that would do some stupid shit like that, okay? So don't do that. Don't give me those kinds of ideas. See, if you get to know me, you'll know that if you tell me things like that and I think about it and I figure out a pathway to it, I'll do it. And half of me will do it as a test. All right. I do it as a test. Because at the rate that we're going, we should experience at least one major, I would say right now, this year we gain a reprieve and we will not experience a major hurricane that's going to wreak havoc on large population points. But next year, at least one major hurricane will hit the Caribbean, causing equal destruction to that of Katrina. And see, I'll put that out there for next year. See, right now we're in halfway through the hurricane season, and I would go and research. I haven't researched, but I will research what the water temperatures have been and all that sort of thing, and give a pretty good estimate on whether or not we're going to have a major hurricane this year. Usually, if we were going to have a major hurricane, we would have seen some significant ones already, but we haven't seen anything significant. And this has been a fairly quiet hurricane season, so I would bet that it's going to be a relatively, compared to previous years, quiet hurricane season. But last year we had a relatively quiet hurricane season comparatively. So usually we only go about every third, fourth year. The hurricanes are like, we have a lot of them, and there are a lot of big category 4s and 5s. So probably next year or the year after we'll have multiple 4s and 5s. It's a reasonable prediction, and don't let it happen. Oh my! So you live in Florida on the beach? Which beach? Where you live in Florida? Because this is how I hook up Florida. Tell me where you at in Florida. I'm gonna give you a prediction, my guy. Because I know a little bit extra about Florida. Where you living in Florida? Where you at, Jane? Ooh, I do that, then I can start proclaiming I wouldn't say that I was God. I would say that I am the messenger. I am the forebearer of the age of Aquarius. God has brought me in. That the universal mind has imbued me with a speck of his power to know his mind, to know its mind. I wouldn't say his, to know its mind, and create like my own little worship kind of deal going. You say you're in Daytona, Psychic Renz podcast. That's what I'm talking about, Triple X. Daytona. Ah, see. So the majority of hurricanes go into the Gulf, and they don't normally swing back that low across Florida. The ones that hit Daytona are, and it's not as often, those are the ones that turn north relatively quickly, depending upon how south they start when they leave Africa. So, and most of them, I mean, depending on how north they start when they leave Africa. Most of them leave Africa at a southward projection, and the strongest current pulls them southward into the Caribbean. So Daytona would be relatively safe, right? They'd be relatively safe. Y'all are in that once every 10, 14 year time frame of a major hurricane, hitting Daytona. So you're relatively safe. So I'll tell you, the northwest coast of the mid to northwest coast of Florida is safe. But because of the way the United States contours outward, this is why your Carolinas and Virginia will get those heavier hurricanes when they do swing north early. You have a shining, but you got to be able to control the elements to know what the weather will be. Belize is in the Caribbean. Do you notice a lot of stuff hasn't ever happened to it? Because centuries since the last time it happened, not even science could predict what they estimate. Now, this would all be just a. Now, if you become a master alchemist, it is said that master alchemists have the ability to control weather. You would have to be in such an energetic flow of the earth and be very powerful in that to be able to do something like that. You say you told the government that you're going to cook up hurricanes and make them take the same route as the slave ships did, and I'm going to do it in a chronological order. See, that's what I'm saying, Sammy. The hurricanes already take the same route as the slave trade went, because hurricanes follow the Atlantic, that east to west Atlantic current. It's called the Dogons and the Mali called it the Atlantic River, the river in the ocean or something like that, because they recognized that there was this part of the Atlantic Ocean that pushes like a river faster than any other part of it. Um, but when it gets closer to the Caribbean, it begins to split. A lesser strength goes north along the eastern seaboard. The medium strength goes into the Caribbean, and the stronger one actually goes a little bit south, right? Uh, this is why those travelers went the directions that they went. They realized at what point they had to turn north to go along the eastern seaboard. But that's why most of the slave trade and most of um, the European explorers went into the Caribbean and into Mexico and all of that, because that was the stronger current. So hurricanes follow that same path, right? That's why they always had to be concerned about hurricanes when they did travel across the ocean, because they knew that they were in that pathway. That's why the Nigerians, the Yoruba and the Igbo, and the people of Dahomey and Ghana, the Ghanese people, they all understood that current, because it flows like right off that point of Africa, right around that little, where that little hump, the horse neck. That's what I call it, the horse neck. Because when you look at Africa, you turn it, it looks like a horse. But the horse neck part goes, it flows off that part, the bottom part of the horse neck. So you also told them that you're going to activate Yellowstone. Hold on, partner. Let me leave America before you activate Yellowstone. Because even though here in Atlanta we wouldn't die from the initial explosion, but that cloud, the ash cloud, is what's going to mess up all of this. So give me a minute. The Amico, the Amico and Gulf Stream. Mm-hmm. Oh, geoengineering weather manipulation. I know we've been working on it. I don't know how far along they are. I think that there are certain things that they can create and can dissipate. Um, I think some of the conspiracy theories have them further along than they really are. And one thing I do know about, at least the American, well, not just the American, a few other governments as well, if they're telling you they can, if you know that they can do something, we have technologies to do something now. Let me rephrase it. Our true technological levels are generally 50 to 100 years ahead of what they allow us to see. Here's another one. All the lands they've stolen, I want every inch of millimeter back, cubic millimeter. Ooh, keep popping for up. So land, air, water. I am locked, divvied up a lot of the stolen lands and make golf courses. Yeah, I'm telling you, I can make a career out of that, and I'd be just as powerful as their god. And then I write a book. I'd write the new Bible. I would write the new Bible. This is how we save. This is how you save yourself from Armageddon, as told to me by the All. I would talk about how I astro traveled into the river stream of time, which is a circle, and I picked out different points of time, and I saw what was happening. But as with the multiverse, every decision can be this. Everything can be altered and changed based on the decisions of man. Yeah. What's up, Devin? How you doing? But yeah, I could I could do that. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even do it by myself. I would have the Council of Nine, the Council of Nine, the three masters, 6 adepts. The 6 adepts and the 3 neophytes. Yeah, that'd be no, that's 12. Shit, what I'm talking about. That's 12 people. So no, so that'll be the 1 master, 2 adepts, and 6 acolytes. Oh, that Geostorm movie was pretty good. I like that one. How they were creating. We got to a point of technology where we can control the weather all over the world. Let you know before he does that so you can catch a flight. Where are you at, Skybox? Where are you? I actually like Geostorm. That was a good movie. Because I can foresee us being in a situation one day where we absolutely control the weather. You in Memphis? I was supposed to have been in Memphis at the beginning of August. We had the motorcycle, had that motorcycle roundup. So, most movies aren't 100% fiction. Most of them aren't 100% fiction. If you're in Memphis and Yellowstone blows up, you would have to be on the road. You need to be in the air within 3 hours. Yeah, you got about 3 hours. I would say you need to be in the air within 3 hours. And you need to be heading like towards Brazil. You know, you need to be heading towards South America or Africa. And not Rio, Brazil. You need to go like inner Brazil or down to, you know, the southern countries. But you get the hell on. Lots of indications that this is a simulation. Where's that prime light on? Okay. That's why I'm not living here with y'all. You're not even safe if Yellowstone blows up, you're not even safe in Central America. You gotta get the hell out of Central America as well. West Coast is all jacked up. Alaska, you're all right. Um, you can go to the mountains of China, you'll be cool. Because there will be tidal waves that go the opposite direction, goes across the Pacific. Hawaii is gonna be underwater again. Um, all those East Coast countries on the Pacific, nah, that's not a good place to be. And then you would, but actually, if that thing erupts at its full potential, then that the chain of volcanoes is called the Ring of Fire. You stand a chance of all of those also erupting, just from the force of Yellowstone. So you might want to leave Memphis. You might want to leave Memphis. And by the way, Memphis will, if it erupts like a 10-pointer, like I'm using earthquake scales, but if it erupts like massive eruption, I think y'all have I think there's a tectonic plate that goes up and around that area as well. So the Mississippi is going to flood the shit out of Memphis. The Mississippi will flood Memphis. So you're going to have to be quick with it, bro. You might want to just go ahead and start packing your bags. Get yourself on out of Memphis. Samuel, you got a lot of destructive stuff you're trying to do here, bro. I need you to calm down. Let me get to Africa first, Samuel, before you start blowing shit up. Samuel over here on Facebook, he gonna blow up. He's gonna rip up some stuff. Let me get to Africa first before you start doing all that. And I realize there's a plate that's going through from South to East Africa right now. So I don't know if East Africa is not going to be the place I want to be. And then if that volcano that's underwater in Naples blow up, then you definitely don't want to be in North Africa, the Middle East, none of Europe. You want to be like, you would want to be in your Ghanas and Nigerias, Namibias. You want to be around in there. Namibia is actually a beautiful country. Samuel said, it's his mission. I am Samuel. Give me some time, bro. What's the timeline? What timeline we got, Samuel? See, that's where they try to hook you. They try to force you into a timeline. So I need to know your timeline, bro. I don't know how much time I got to get the hell on. But we could create a better world than this guy. You know, if you really think about it, like what Samuel, one of the overarching things that Samuel is saying is that we are more powerful than the old guys, and we're more powerful than what we give ourselves credit for. We literally have the ability to create a better world than what this deity created. You know, we have the knowledge of the past, and we see the destructive nature of culture and societies of the past. With that knowledge, just that knowledge, we have the ability to create a better world, a better system, a better life than this deity did. And any deity, any of the deities, we can do better. I mean, the Tao is one of the closest philosophies that would create a better world. That most of the answers to our issues, if following the Tao, we'd be able to satisfy most of them. One of them that I talked about recently in a video was the fact that the Tao says that the true goal of leadership, of government, is to make it where the government is not needed. That you provide for the people to such an extent that no one is dependent upon the government, and the government shrinks in size because the people are so taken care of and are living in the flow of the universe so that there is fairness. So even if our government was thinking that way, if our government had that mindset, like somebody mentioned redlining earlier, we're a capitalist. America is a capitalistic country. When you institute redlining, you are it's part of creating poverty. When you create poverty, you create crime. When you create crime, you're creating a dysfunctional society. So when you take out things like redlining, and people are able to buy their homes, buy their land, then they have more care for their home, more care for their lands, more care for their neighborhoods. The crime in those areas start to go down. When the crime goes down, the impact on that society, the negative impact on that society is lessened. You raise up people who are more conducive to prosperity than you do toward disparity, and you thereby make a better society as a whole. So just eliminating redlining would make our society, make America actually a better country. So, but that goes against, and so having redlining goes against capitalism, which goes against a better nation. But we do it anyway because I don't like you because you black. I don't like you because you Spanish. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Your skin tone, you have more melanin in your skin, to which I wish I had, but I don't like you because of that, and I want to hurt you because of that. And in hurting you, I'm hurting myself. You know what I mean? That there again, me and Angelina in the same household. If I went home and broke both her legs and broke her spine, and then she can't work, that puts more of a financial burden on me and then we'll put more of a financial burden in our household, which makes things a little bit more difficult, which creates frustration and aggravation. I would have to do different things to take care of her, which creates even more of a stress and more of a burden. And it could possibly cause so much stress and aggravation that it dissolved the relationship. And then both people go off on their own worse off than when they came together. That's America towards what they call minorities. It makes no sense. Why injure people in your household that could be a benefit to your household? And that works vice versa. Even though, I keep telling Angelina she will never ever beat me in the sock challenge. She thinks she can. So her breaking my legs that's not gonna happen. Jane, my brother, and I truly appreciate what you do day to day. Very educational and therapeutic. Once I get my alimony caught up, I will be making a financial contribution. I appreciate that, my guy. Thank you, James. Yep. And see, we just fix some of these social issues. That'll take out that'll get rid of the drug dealers and all that. And then you have rapists and pedophiles. Yeah, they need to be buried under something. Don't feel bad. You're not the only one that people think are evil. Most of the people who come to this lounge and they spend enough time talking to me about some of these other issues, they look at me like they look at me a little side-eyed. 2017. Oh, you talking to Marcus? Already control the weather. President Lyndon B. Johnson once said, "He who controls the weather will control the world." President JFK even talked about it. Oh, you're right. They are still in that manifest destiny mindset. And that is a true thing. You can control the weather. Do you know how much you can devastate countries without losing one life or firing one bullet? You can devastate an entire country. Or you can prosper a country. If you can control the weather and you made it rain um, significantly throughout the Sahara Desert and turned it back green, you would change the economy of all those North African countries. I don't know who 844 is, but I'm not buying whatever they're selling. But yeah, you would be able to. I mean, see, it wouldn't do for me to control the weather because I would do things that make things good. I would make every desert would turn green because I would make sure it got enough rainfall that it would be green. Um, there would be no more droughts. There would never be another drought on the planet. So when you tell people facts, they get super quiet and all of the air gets sucked out. Oh, people don't like facts, especially when they have their belief. When the facts go contrary to their beliefs, they don't want to hear it. Governments around the world are all have budgets to try to control the weather. Some are further along than others, but it is a goal of society to control the weather. Humans have a need to control this planet. But I'll make the planet better. We would have, areas that should have normal seasons, they will have their normal seasons. Y'all will get mad at me because all this extra livestock on the planet and all these seafaring boats that are dredging the oceans and all that, I destroy every last one of them. Y'all be like, damn, I can't get no sea. I would wreck the seafood industry and the cow industry. China is using weather to manipulate the weather to change the desert green, and no more of these 100-degree weather, 110-degree weather. Yeah, I mean, on the surface, China shows you that they're trying to plant trees and they're planting. They literally planted a forest in order to try to stop I forgot what the desert is over there, trying to stop that desert from encroaching even further. But as they continue to do that, they are working skyward as well to try to make sure everything gets watered over there. All right, 2.5 million ships in the ocean every day. That's too many ships. No more 100-degree weather, 110-degree weather. Nah. Yeah, because even, man, when me and Angelina went to that wedding in Savannah and we went to the beach the next day, that damn sand was so hot. It was so damn hot out there. It was ridiculous. It's too hot. I would never take the weather above 90 degrees. Never above 90 degrees. But I do it. Well, we have gotten way, way, way off the subject matter here. That's cool. It's 1:30 almost, so it's about time for me to sign off. I have a financial report that I need to get done. So, and I got to file my tobacco tax. So I got to file my tobacco tax. I got a financial report to do. So I'm going to get off of here today. You guys have entertained the hell out of my foolishness, and I appreciate that. 85 at the most. I would do 90 in some areas because in order to water every other place, I need certain levels of evaporation. So we got to hit it up a little bit. But I appreciate you guys. I appreciate y'all entertaining my foolishness. Stop giving me ideas of how to build this channel, man. Don't give me them kind of ideas. Next thing you know, y'all can be like, he not lost his damn mind. Right? Stay dangerous. Always, sir. Always. So, but I appreciate you guys. And, tomorrow is Tuesday. So tomorrow is What's Wrong with the Bible. We're in Leviticus. I think we did, what did we do? 11 and 12 last week, or 12 and 13? So we're either doing 13 and 14 or 14 and 15. Hold on, I can tell you exactly which one we're doing tomorrow. Oh, so we did 12 and 13 last time. So tomorrow it is Leviticus 14 and 15 with What's Wrong with the Bible. Wednesday, I don't know what we're doing. Thursday, we're still in Gospel of Thomas. And then Friday, I have no idea what we're doing Friday. Depending upon how things, we'll see how things go this week. Might be interesting next week, but the week after. So I appreciate you guys as always. Thank you for all of your sharing, all of your comments. Please continue to comment on these videos. If you're watching this later, still put your comment in there. I do go back and read most of them. So y'all have a great day. And remember always, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And I will see y'all mañana. Tomorrow.